if we conceive of the world as being particles, we inevitably conceive of the world as a prison unconsciously, because there are two aspects to the particle state, meaning it means, one, that the world outside of us is independent, external to us, disconnected from us. And the second part is that it is this solid thing which, by virtue of it being independent of us, basically locks us up in it. So we're like, so inevitably the concept of the world as being a particle, being made up of particles, it inevitably leads to the idea that we are in a prison. And you see this, for instance, in terms of how we call the classes that we put the children in cells, which is the same as we put people in a prison in cells, and we define the body as made up of cells. It's not a coincidence that we define those three things, our body, our schools, and our prisons, as made up of cells. It's because in essence, the particle nature of things becomes a prison. And simple, an example would be that if you're locked up in a prison, you are sort of totally, you have no control over what's around you. So the guards would determine, when you eat, you're locked, you cannot get out unless they let you out. It means you have no impact on the surrounding, and you're locked up, meaning you're confined. And this is, in reality, the particle state is the same, because you have space and time, and you would have no impact on space and time within that particle idea. And for instance, the idea we're just discussing an article on how our whole concept of time is changing. It says a new understanding of time changes the way we see the world, where they're saying here that we are able to slow down or speed up time. And the truth is that when we go to the wave state, we're able to transcend time, to rupture time. So synchronicity would be like the time outside of the box of space and time. So the particle state would be like a box that you're locked into, and you're confined to finitude and solidity. For instance, in terms of space, you wouldn't be able to go, you're confined to this space, for instance, if you need to talk to someone somewhere else, you would have to call them or so, so you're really in a prison, because you're cut off of a state of energy where you're not confined to these limitations, So the whole idea of this new concept of time is really going towards a more wave state of time, which means that the individual is not like this particle cut off from everything else, but we're able to connect to everything instantaneously. You would get the idea of the way energy behaves at the wave state is telepathically, and two photons would know exactly what the other is doing on the other side of the world immediately, so we would get a whole different matrix. So the whole particle idea of the world made up of particles, which is indoctrinated into us from in the womb, would really be what you would get in a movie, The Matrix, where Morpheus says, that the Matrix has been pulled over your eyes, this illusion. And it reaches way into the mind, in a sense, so you cannot see it, because it's really the operating system that you're operating on, which is this idea that you're separate from everything, and that you're confined to this space here and this time. So it's not a coincidence that we define the schools as the prisons, and we define our body as the prisons, because in the idea of the body made up of cells, you would get the same thing. You would get that the mind is independent of that. You wouldn't be able. You go to a biology-based doctor with the cell problem. If you're diagnosed with a blood, that you have blood cells, a problem with your blood cells, they would never ever, the idea wouldn't be of, I am one with the blood cells, and I can, basically if I change my mental state, that the state of the blood cells changes. No, you would get that they would give you physical medication outside of you. So the whole idea of cells is also wrong. It's also like, so this is a hell of a situation, because the very way we define the world becomes the prison that we're in, and then we sort of all of a sudden within that worldview, you would get then that the outside is determining the inside, and the inside has no impact on the outside, and then so the whole idea of this, so you're like, a good example would be like food. You would be your whole life ordering pizza to be delivered home from the outside, while so everything you eat and everything your intake would all be from outside and nothing from inside, because the prison, the psychological prison, would then be what I call the outside in. Everything, outside is determining the inside. But once we start to go out of the prison, the first steps would be, no, I am allowing things to have a certain impact on me. But the mind in the prison would not. The mind in the prison would say, you are making me angry. There's no choice there. That's really the whole view of science. Causality means the cells are doing this or that to me because you have a blood disease. And then the inside out, which would be the true version of things, which would take us into the wave state, out of the prison would be, I am allowing you to make me angry. You get choice. So the more we go to that particle state, the more we go to lower frequencies, and we go to a state where there's no choice. The outside is determining me. And then the whole medical world is based on physical medicine. You get a pill, or you get some kind of a chemical reaction outside of you to change your body, and the mind is completely not included. So the only way to get out of the prison is to start to move, to live what I call from the inside out. Meaning, I am allowing things to have a certain impact on me. And then the more you go up the steps towards the core of the self, the more you will get that the mental state that you are in will determine the state of the reality around you. While in the prison definition, you would get that the reality around you determines the state that you are in. So you get the sayings as, things have to become peaceful outside of me for me inside to become at ease. And the true version of it would be where the free mind would say, when I am at ease, then things outside of me become peaceful, because it's a mirror. It will mirror the state that I am in. You see, but that is assuming that you have that inner self, inwardness in yourself. But the whole programming is exactly the outside in. So in school, in these cells, these prisons, you're memorizing what is coming from outside in. There is nothing that's happening where you say that the inside has to determine the outside. There's nothing that happens in school, in our schools, in that sense. And then you have the constant examination from outside. There's a constant testing and examinations from outside, which is really programming you to forever feel that the outside has to tell you if you are okay. And then you get people that would feel that something is not right and they need a medical test to make them feel that they're okay. And the free mind to the waves level would say, when I am okay, then my body will display that okayness. And that the mental state would be at the core of the mind body, and that is what is creating what is outside. So these are like just fleeting examples of the whole thing. But yes, the whole thing is based on, at this point, is based on making you depend completely on the outside, sort of that all your intake is coming from the outside, and that there is nothing coming from the inside. So the only way to become free from this prison would be to basically, this sounds somewhat esoteric, but this would be to find out who you are really on the inside. And you see that in this system there is absolutely no emphasis on finding out who you are. You're basically groomed to become something that society needs you to be. The idea of the filling of the vessel is exactly what our graded system is about. You pour it all in from outside, and you teach them to never ever believe that you can validate yourself from the inside. So you got basically a prison there, and a prison system. And I believe, my research has led me to believe that we are basically what the Nazi and the Holocaust experiments were really busy with, was how to perfect the prison. Because in the book of The Art of War, it is said that the perfect war is where you submit to someone without they knowing that they are submitted. So the idea would be that the prison would have to become mental. If not, you would always know you're in a prison, and you would not self-administer the prison. So you would basically figure out the way to get out. But if this is a mental prison and you're self-administering the prison, you see, then you got a hell of a prison, really, because. So yeah, and then what happens is that the prison could be centrally coordinated, but even if within this type of prison, which is a worldview, even if the door is open, you would get that the bird would not get out, because the bird would be now completely accustomed to getting the food from outside. You see, the prison is when you depend completely on the outside for anything. And this is why you get another correlation that in Dutch, the word addict or dependent is called verslaafde, which is slaaf. Slaaf is slave. So the whole thing is based on making you depend on the outside for your food of thought and your food, literally, or the food. So when you open that cage, there is going to be, if even that outside-in program is scrambled, there will be like a point where the prisoner will say, I have no way of knowing what I from the inside need am or need to do, or how I rely on the inside, there will be a moment of complete silence, if you wish, because when you stop living for the outside, when you stop defining yourself via the eyes of the other or our society, and you really start to connect to the inside, a point will come where you don't know what it is, because you've never ever lived from within. They're following the trends and they're following the books, and they're not even able yet to realize that this system is a psychological prison system. They're not even able to realize that for instance, if your school is basically teaching children how to memorize material, that's a complete joke. It's like a school system giving you the questions and the answers, and the test is to see how well you can reproduce the answer. That's programming. That has nothing to do with learning. That's just teaching you to regurgitate and to memorize and to reproduce whatever the outside wants you to reproduce. And so that is mind control. Yeah, but that's showing you how, to what degree, the system is really imprisoned itself, because we actually have come to the point where we believe that that's education. So the prisoner it does not even know anymore what it is to be a prisoner. You see, now we're talking about a real prison in terms of the art of war. See, if you know you're in a prison, you will look for a way out. But they do not know this is a prison. And the moment you are only reacting to your surrounding, you have no choice, and you're basically being controlled by the surrounding. You have no choice, no inner ability to self-direct, nothing. You're not much more than a biological robot. And that's basically the way we're programmed, and you're in a prison, and you think you can get, you don't have bars on the windows, but you can't go really far within that mindset and within that state of mind. It's where we are at now is that possibly the deepest levels of control are being scrambled, if you wish. But what you're then seeing is it's like the ants in an ant heap that lose the queen. They're just running around confused, because they haven't learned they don't have the tools to access their inner selves and to be able to direct from inside out. And so that's the scenario of the prison being open with the bird still being conditioned is a very, very real one. And that's why the work must be done now on, you see, one of the biggest things of the mind that is not able to self-direct is the black and white thinking, the dissociative state where you're kept in a state of splitness. That's just an example. An example is, for instance, how we've had thousands of years of rejecting the feminine and keeping the feminine apart from the masculine is a form of that, And unless we're not able to get out of the black or white and get into the black and white thinking, until the self is connected up, there is no self-direction and no choice. And that's really, so that work has to be done now, of what I call decompressing the split self and integrating it. Because if you're split, you will be, if you don't have a core central self, you cannot self-direct. And it's really a very important thing, because if not, you're looking at a sophisticated robot which is able to adapt to the surrounding, but that is not really a being yet. The whole idea of evolution is the survival of the fittest, or how to adapt to circumstance. And we think, again, the slave mind thinks that that's learning and that's development, but it's not. We are really designed to move forward from inside, according to what is the inner core self, and not to just adapt to the surrounding. We are meant to be light beings, which is photon. We are photonic, but we have been convinced we're cells, particles, which is like the prison. But at a collective level, the whole world is split. But so when that split becomes a union, the particle will become back a wave, and that's what the Bible refers to as the new earth. The new earth is where the energy becomes the split state of energy, which we are all like the little atoms making up the big atom of the earth. But when that energy is integrated, we will move out of the particle state and back to the wave, which is the light state. And we are trapped. We are trapped in the particle state because of this mind control, and that particle state has us hooked up to time, if you wish, like finite time. And that is what so we are in a lock. We are in an energetic lockdown, and we're supposed to be. Not supposed to be. We are light beings in terms of photon energy. This is proven. So when the quantum physics will say that, okay, we know that the energy is basically wave state energy, but somehow at the macro level, what we see here is these particles, these individual the individual is like a particle, and they cannot explain that dichotomy. But that's because energy is in a prison in this place. That in a laboratory we can activate it back at its true state, but it is here in a particle state, trapped. Particle means cells, pieces, while we are fractals of the wave. I saw a map today of America and the weather, and the west coast is completely boiling and the east coast is completely frozen, and it perfectly mimics the mental state. You see, because the human being makes up the atoms of this earth. We are not like some aliens that they would have us believe that they're walking around here and that we somehow came here by virtue of alien insemination and whatever, and we would leave this planet and all of that. It's the same like the body and the mind. We are one with that body. The medical view is completely alienating. The word is even alien. But we are one with that body, and the same equally we are one with the earth. And so when these particles are healed back into becoming whole states, the earth will become back whole, which is like, if you wish, a star or light. And so the earth is now not in the state that it is also in a kind of a prison. There is a timeline of us that are moving back to that wave state, and this is what we call the self. And the self, the people that have achieved self, so look, the earth now manifests in terms of particle, space-time, dense, around people that are in that state. So this is what nobody wants you to know, and that is that the earth will reflect the state that you are in. So the bees are dying because the bees provide this fertilization of the flowers and the fruits, which is the coming together of the yin and the yang. But it's because we have permanently disconnected the yin and the yang that this is manifesting in nature. Nature is just the extension of us. So the people that are reaching to the self state, they around them will start to manifest what we call these islands, which is para spots that are again on the wave state, which the Bible would call paradise or heaven on earth. And so the idea would be that we have been kept in this state of split, in a very, very young, hyper-boiled state of anger and wars and fights, and in dissociation of the yin, which is the opposite. Everything has been done to keep that going, because that keeps the energy trapped down here, and obviously that energy is being used by other dimensions. So we're like energy for other dimensions, and the moment we were to start to go to that inside out and to connect, the true self would be the only way to be free. That is going to change the energy. It's going to it's going to remove that prison lock. And it's happening. But as we discussed, even when you open the door, for those that have been very, very enslaved mentally, because we know that there are layers and layers of this mind control, those that will not, the bird will not readily walk out of the cage. If you look at the movie, the celebrities, a lot of them wear this bird cage around their head like fashion. Well, that's the state of the mind that these mind control slaves are in. At the deepest level, you have increasingly less and less choice and inner life, and it's completely robotic and like puppets and dolls and slaves, sex slaves. And so at the deepest level of what we call MK Ultra, so these even when the big control system is stopped, they will be lost in the beginning if they do not get the help to become to do these steps to find inside out, and then state, and then to find the self state, which is the state where we are again aware that what is around us is a reflection of the state we are in. While you see, if you look at the celebrities that sort of display this kind of a extreme slave state, they are the reflection of what is around them.